I had a chance at the end of last week to consider what perseverance really means. It was with a captive audience, quite literally. I was back in maximum security prison in Georgia. This is late summer of 2024, and had a morning with felons who are some of them in prison for life, others for a long, long time short of that. We talked about perseverance in a spiritual sense, but also in its broader meanings and how do we use it as an attribute and as a way of coping with difficult realities. Divide and conquer has always been one way for me to look at challenges, to try to not try to solve them all immediately, but rather to break them down into parts and chip away so I can see where progress is possible and begin to make my way towards the better end. If you're stuck in prison, of course, your liberty is gone. You are at the discretion. Much of what you do is at the discretion of others, but you still have some, and you certainly can control your way of thinking and your attitude. And that's true of all of us, whether we're behind bars or not. And perseverance is the capacity that we have to make positive progress in spite of challenges, difficulties, obstacles in the way. All of us need that. Spiritually, I think God helps us get there. But whether we're believers or not, we have the power to rethink our approach to problems and to life, our attitudes towards what we've done wrong, maybe injustices that have been visited upon us. And while we try to find remedies for those things that really are unjust, at the same time, we need to take responsibility for those aspects of our life that are our responsibility. And then to set goals and move towards them, to persevere, to try to get beyond the obstacles and to achieve progress in our lives. Not only does this have a practical advantage to us, but of course it also is a confidence builder. It helps us to take some pride, and people behind bars often are severely lacking in self-esteem. They realize that they've made mistakes in their lives. Most of the time, they'll admit it, at least to themselves. But even if they don't, that reality is obvious to anyone who spends any time with them. And those of us outside of prison, I think, are subject to the same either intentional or inadvertent transparency. If we're not on our game, other people notice it, and we can look within ourselves to see what is it that's lacking. That's an area for perseverance, is to try to maybe dissect our inhibitions better and go about overcoming those things that are keeping us from being honest with ourselves and moving forward. Now, perseverance is not the same as stubbornness. It is not getting our own way or demanding that we move towards a goal for its own sake, if in fact it is not a worthy goal. And this happens too. And we kid ourselves into thinking that our stoicism, our inability to be open minded or to change as we need to change because we deny the problem that is holding us back, that's not perseverance. That's being really foolish and self defeating. Perseverance applies to positive ambitions and goals. We see something that we need to achieve, we know it's noble, and we work towards it. It's an important distinction, and I invite all of us today to look at that difference. Are we being closed minded? Or are we truly chasing an important ambition and goal that, with proper discipline and time, patience, all of that, we may very likely achieve? If you're of a spiritual nature, adding that to the prayer list, asking God to help us reach those goals, to identify them and get there, is a very important, perhaps the single most important step. Whether or not you are a believer, though, it's important to be honest with yourselves, with yourself as I need to be with mine, about what is it that we need to persevere for and why is it so important and worthwhile to do so.